Okay, so today we're going deep on something I think is really interesting.
Okay.
The Chronicles of Narnia.
Uh-huh.
And, all the talk about there being all these Christian themes in there.
Yeah.
Like we got this snippet that just says flat out,
Right.
Narnia is religious and Christian.
Yeah.
So is there actually something to that? Or is this just like people reading too much into it?
Well, the Christian allegory in Narnia it's definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's widely recognized by, literary scholars, but also just tons of regular readers.
Right. Yeah. Even as like a kid reading it, some stuff definitely stood out.
Mm-hmm.
But just how deep does it go?
Yeah.
Like how much are these ideas actually kind of woven into the stories?
Well, I mean, there's tons of examples.
Okay.
So, like, the most obvious one is Aslan, right?
Okay.
So he's the powerful lion, the creator of Narnia, and he sacrifices himself to save Edmund.
Right.
And then he comes back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty hard to miss the parallel to Jesus there.
Yeah, that one's pretty clear.
Yeah.
But are there other connections that maybe aren't so in your face?
Oh, tons.
Oh.
I mean, there's deeper theological concepts like all through the books.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when Edmund betrays his siblings for that Turkish delight,
Oh, yeah.
that's a lot like Judas betraying Jesus, right? I mean, it's not just about the sweets and the silver.
Yeah.
It's about temptation and how even like small choices can have these huge consequences.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
it makes you think about how those temptations play out in a person's own life, too.
exactly.
Like, what are our Turkish delights?
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
things that we give into so easily.
Totally. And then there's that battle between Aslan's forces and the White Witch,
Right.
which is that classic struggle between good and evil.
Yeah.
And then you've got redemption, which is portrayed beautifully.
Yeah.
In Edmund's story, he goes from betraying his family to feeling really remorseful, and he ultimately receives forgiveness.
Yeah. And those are definitely like universal themes. But it's interesting how the Christian parallels kind of add this whole other dimension.
Right.
But do you have to be aware of those connections to actually enjoy the books?
I think that's the beauty of how C.S. Lewis wrote these stories.
Okay.
They work on these multiple levels.
Okay.
So you can get caught up in the adventures, the creatures, the characters, without even thinking about any deeper meaning.
Yeah.
But for people who are familiar with, like, Christian theology,
Yeah.
it adds this whole other layer of depth.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it's like there's almost a hidden world within the story.
Yeah.
It's just waiting to be discovered.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of makes you wonder what Lewis was really trying to get across.
Well, I mean, literary critics have been debating that for years.
Right.
Some argue that Aslan isn't just like a stand-in for Jesus,
Uh-huh.
but actually a representation of Lewis's own like evolving understanding of God's love.
Mm.
So his sacrifice, it's not just a plot point, it's like a way of exploring how deep and how sacrificial love can be.
It really makes you think about how people can interpret the same story so differently.
Totally. And then some critics suggest that the White Witch
Okay.
could symbolize more than just evil.
Mm-hmm.
She could be like the allure of secularism,
Uh-huh.
especially given Lewis's own journey
Yeah.
from atheism to Christianity.
Wow, that adds like a whole other level of complexity to it.
Yeah.
But, some people would argue
Mm-hmm.
that if you focus too much on the Christian allegory,
Yeah.
it actually limits like the universal appeal of the stories.
I mean, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
But I think Lewis was so masterful at weaving these themes in
Yeah.
that it doesn't feel preachy or exclusive.
Mm.
The stories still resonate with readers from all different backgrounds because at their core,
Yeah.
they're dealing with like universal human experiences.
Right.
Love, loss, betrayal, forgiveness.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
So whether you see Narnia through that religious lens or not, there's still a really powerful story there for anyone to connect with.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been a really thought-provoking deep dive.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping unpack all of this.
My pleasure.
And for everyone listening, I want you to think back to your own experience with these stories.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on these deeper layers right away?
Mm.
Or have they kind of revealed themselves over time?
Mm.
I think it's amazing how our understanding of stories can evolve,
Yeah.
as we grow and change.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.